welcome back to my channel. It's me again, Lady Laura. Today's episode, wouldn't want to take time, just want to go straight to the point. Today's episode is all about verbal abuse. You could recall in the last episode, I was speaking about psychological abuse and emotional abuse. So today's episode is about verbal abuse. Just want to go straight to the point. I just also want to use this opportunity to thank all of you that have subscribed to my channel, those that have commented, and then those that have called me to really appreciate what I'm doing, and then also encourage me to do more. And all of the feedback that I've received in total, it's all good, and I'm working with them. Thanks for all of your advices, all of your comments. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. So today it's all about verbal abuse, like I said before. So what is verbal abuse? How do we define verbal abuse? From what I can explain and what I can understand as the meaning of verbal abuse, it's when someone repeatedly uses words to demean, frighten, criticize, insult, or control you. It could be your partner, it could be okay, in a relationship, or as a result of anger and hostility in relationship. It's considered verbal abuse. So when someone uses voices, some kind of voices that are not okay, to challenge you or to bring you down, so this is all what it means by verbal abuse. Although there are also non-verbal abuses, which are belittling gestures or body languages like rolling of eyes, smacking, ignoring someone, whispering, or even violating personal spaces, or putting hands on hip or in your pocket when someone is actually speaking to you. These are all forms of non-verbal abuse. Okay, so in your homes or in your relationship, do you know that verbal abuse meted to your partner or your spouse, in a position of authority, can drastically affect the self-esteem of that person, giving rise to enormous anxiety and periods of confusion, and even lead to clinical depression. When someone is really abused verbally, for instance, the person has an event to attend, like a day, and then all of a sudden there's this kind of words that are being thrown out, and the person has already prepared him or herself for that conference, or is going to make a speech, or is going to make a presentation. Do you think verbal abuse, or don't you think that verbal abuse can actually change or put kind of confusion in in someone's mentality, in someone's brain? Have you ever thought that that kind of abuse or verbal abuse can disrupt the brain setting of that particular event? Have you ever given a thought to that? Do you know that verbal abuse does affect certain areas of the brain? These are areas, or rather these areas associated with changes in verbal IQ, your intelligence quotient, and symptoms of depression, dissociation, and anxiety. Staying in an emotionally or verbally abused relationships can have long-lasting effects on your physical and mental health, including leading to chronic pains, depression or anxiety, or even death. Give a thought to all of these things that I've mentioned. Verbal abuse is another kind of abuse that can really cause a lot of things in your life. So as a relationship coach, these are things that one way or the other can experience, why in your relationship, why in your marriages. Okay? So there are also some kind of common examples that I would like to mention here. When you're experiencing all of these examples, you will now know that you're directly or indirectly being abused. One of them is degrading you in front of friends and families. Degrading you in front of friends and families. How does that work? Degrading you, maybe in a way of whatever you do or you try to put up in front of your family members, your spouse will automatically bring it down, that it doesn't has or it doesn't work in line with what you're doing or what is happening at that moment, or any kind of idea that you bring, him or her will want to degrade that your point or idea. Telling hurtful jokes despite your request to stop. Maybe, for instance, there are some kind of expensive jokes that we crack sometimes, and you've not really looked at that person's mood before you crack such jokes. It could be hurtful, but the person or whoever that you're cracking the joke with might just take it lightly, but inside of him or her, you've already brought the person down. Okay, so it's a form of verbal abuse. So before you crack a joke with your partner or your spouse, look at the mood of that person. It's very important. If he says stop, please try and stop. Don't go further to crack such jokes. All right? Name calling. Calling names, idiots, stupid, useless, or trying to use some kind of other bad words to qualify or quantify your spouse is a very bad one. Yelling at your spouse, little thing you just yell at her or him, is a form of verbal abuse. Insulting, using insultive words. Please, if you're the type that you're hot-tempered, each time you're angry, don't even talk. If your little things upset you, always try and control your moods. Your moods is very important. We can all be temperamentals in some cases, but always try to control it, because you wouldn't know what it's doing in another person's body or system. Okay? Humiliation. We tend to humiliate our spouse in front of, families, in front of friends, or maybe when you have a visitor that visited you at home, you just go on to use all kinds of attitude to humiliate your spouse. Or maybe I always use this example sometimes, if you're a businessman or a businesswoman, and then your colleagues that are also into business, they came around visiting, and then maybe your wife or your husband is not a business person. Is quietly, know how you can handle, receive your visitors without bringing your wife or your husband down in front of those your business colleagues. It is very important. Don't humiliate him or her in front of your friends. Don't bring her down or bring him down in front of your friends. All right? So these are very important examples that oftentimes it happens in our relationships. Criticizing is another point. If you're the type that always criticizes your spouse, sometimes we welcome constructive criticism, but not that every bit of the day or every bit of the moment, whatever he or she does, you keep criticizing. You can also, advise or even criticize in a lovely way, that it's not, provoking. It is important that we are aware of all these things. And then another point is blaming. Blame game. We keep blaming ourselves. Blaming whatever that happens, you want to put it on your spouse. That maybe he or she is the cause of the particular problem, while she's not or he's not. So we have to be very careful of these words. They are all verbal abuse. And by the time you want to blame, on the process, you can release all kinds of words, which is also not good. So find it in a way not to blame each other. Find a resolving platform or situation where these things can be handled properly without abusing one another. Okay? Another point is accusing. Blaming and accusing, the work pari passu. Find a way not to accuse your spouse of anything. Always make sure you find out the root why you are accusing. Don't just assume. Don't live in assumptions, because sometimes it kills. So these are all forms of verbal abuse. Something you're not sure of, and you go ahead to accuse. Stop accusing your spouse. Stop accusing your partner. It is very important. It's all forms of verbal abuse. Try and get the root. Try and find out if this is really true. If actually this happened, before you can now blame or even lay accusations. Another point is questioning your sanity. Each time you do a thing, your spouse will want to question your sanity. You want to find out what exactly or how or what's happening, if you're okay. So it's an important area that we as couples, we have to be very, careful of all of these points. We have to really be careful. We have to really take, heed of all these points that I've just said. For us to really have a peaceful relationship, for us to really have a peaceful marriage, we have to get rid of all of these abuses. Without taking much of your time, I will stop here. The episode continues. This is the third episode, like I said before. We keep speaking about them. We'll keep, creating awareness for us to really know what abuse is all about, what is inside of abuse, what it can cause in our families, what it can cause in our lives, what it can cause even, in other people's lives or people that are around us. Okay? So let's just take care and take heed of all these points and find a way to balance up. If you have found yourself in this situation where you're always hot-tempered, you're always aggressive, find a way to resolve it within yourself. And if it is difficult for you to do, you can look out for a counselor who can really help you out, because temperament has really cost a lot in families. It has really cost a lot in marriages. It is of the high these days. Abuse is of the high. Okay, a lot of people, pass through abuses one way or the other, and they keep bearing it. They keep enduring it. For how long will you continue to endure abuses? And this is a lifetime situation. Marriage is a lifetime situation. For us to really have a good home, we really have to take heed of all these points. For us to really have a lovely marriage, we have to take heed of all these points. For you to enjoy your marriage, enjoy your relationship, we have to take heed of all of these things I've been speaking about. Okay? I just want to thank you for listening. If this is your very first time of, coming to my channel or listening to me speak, please help me ensure to subscribe. Comment below if there are other abuses also that you felt or that is into verbal abuse that I didn't mention. You can also, put it down on the comment section for others to also be aware of all of these things. The earlier we start speaking about this, the earlier we talk about it, the better for all of us to have a joyous and a peaceful home. Thank you for coming on board. Thank you for listening. I would really appreciate it once again if you help me to share this to your families, your friends, on your Facebook handle, your WhatsApp, also to your Twitter if you have one. Thanks, and till I see you next time. Bye-bye.